Here we are in Spain. This is day 8 of my retreat here, and last night I drank the Chaliponga and Ecuadorian vine with Chuchuwasi and Shiriksanango while my assistant had the helm. And I had a very profound experience, so I wanted to make this Facebook Live and share what happened to me. And it took a long time to come on, maybe an hour and 10 minutes. Nothing was happening, so I drank half as much as I already had. And then another 40 minutes pass and nothing is happening. So then it starts to come on a bit, and I walk towards the toilet and I get this impression like, you're in deep shit now. Like, you're in trouble. So I go into the toilet and I'm doing my thing in there, sitting down with my pants down, and then the entities come for me and I'm like, oh shit, there is a shitload of them. And I recently had a confrontation with a cult, and the cult and the associated goons associated with this cult, like they wanted to take revenge. And so here I am, and I'm in this defenseless position, sort of in the toilet, and they're all coming for me. And it's difficult to describe what they were like. Really creepy, like sort of like homeless people with a slight semblance of style, like beings who had really drifted off the path into like a dark, shadowy territory, and they would shapeshift and they'd transform, and there were lots of them, and they're surrounding me all the time. So I'm talking like a motherfucker, and I can't even begin to scratch the surface, and I'm all the time I'm like, I would like to wipe my butt soon. So this went on for maybe 10 minutes, and yeah, there's some detail in what I'm seeing, but it's too laborious to go into. And yeah, I managed to at least repel and kill some of them. Some of them seem to be liberated by what I'm doing. They seem to transform. And then, okay, I managed to pull up my pants and go out and sit on one of the chairs outside. And yeah, they keep coming for me, these kind of big draggledy men sort of like coming towards me, and these women with cats, and like the cats, I'm like, okay, the cat's friendly. It's like, no, it's always this sense of they creep in and they surround me and they're shape-shifting, and there's like these ladies with cats, and suddenly there's all these little fucking kittens around me, shape-shifting around me. What the hell do I do about that? It's confusing. I'm disorientated. And these beings kind of come like right beside me, and then they, you know, those men that they're not men, they're bits of fabric that they have outside of used car salesmen. They have these kind of like wind men, like, and they're like the windsock men. They're like this, and they're bending over, and they're here and there, and it's like really disorientated. And I can't. It's like I'm talking, he bang, and it's over here, and I'm moving around, and I'm just like, okay, I need to move to another seat. And yeah, this keeps going for, I don't know, it seems like a long time. I'm just doing what I can because they're kind of surrounding me. I'm being a bit overcome. And it was, you know, quite intense. Like in the toilet, there was one point where I didn't mention that, where it's like they're surrounding me, and it's like they're collectively choking me, and I'm starting to go like that. You know, so it was quite intense. And yeah, I'm not sure exactly when things started to shift, but they did, and it was all very confusing. And I'm just trying to get through this. And I was like, I don't want this. Like, I don't give a shit about you guys. I just want to get away. Like, I don't need this. I don't want this. This is you know, like an attack. Like, honestly, you know, I'm happy to just let these beings go, you know, but the inclination is like, no, you've got to take them out. And so at some point everything shifts, and there's a sort of a coalescement into a singular entity. That's what it seems. It's quite confusing, and there's a lot going on. And also, and I forgot to mention this is just when everything is coming on. So my visions are not 100% clear. I'm not seeing everything in the detail that I normally would, because it's just coming on. And even though there's quite a lot of detail at the same time, but then it does get more detailed, and there's this kind of like woman, dark goddess creature with, instead of chakras, she's got like skulls. And then she basically shifts into 20 of these. This looks like Kali, but it's not Kali. It's like really dark skulls, death, you know, the kind of pointed tongue and reddish, angry sort of face. And then it's like there's 20 of them, 20 of these women. I'm just like, fuck, like, this is a lot. And I feel like, oh, okay, what am I going to do? But I understand, and it's very confident, kind of coming towards me, surrounding me. And in this situation, okay, what's the worst that can happen? Really, when, like, if they do overcome you, they really take your power, they can damage layers and levels of your mind and your makeup. And I have had other beings come in and do repairs on me while I'm in this space with these entities. You know, you can lose your sense of self, you can lose your mind, just go completely off balance into chaos. So in this instance, yeah, I just kept torping this dark goddess, and it's very confident, like it keeps coming for me, and eventually it kind of it's like, oh, you got me, and it sort of like falls to the side, and then it falls down, and I'm keep topping, bang, 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 and then this male equivalent, but a good one, like a Hindu god, like with the trident, like comes down from the heavens and spears the goddess, just like putting in the finishing blow. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Okay, she's dead. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm happy that's over. And I sit down, and everything becomes quite calm and at peace. And I'm with these beings, they're almost like Asian people, and they say to me, oh, put your hands out here. If they're all putting their hands in the center, I'm sitting and put your hands out. Like there's a blessing that's coming. And this kind of creature comes down. It's like he's like a cosmic dentist machine, and he is like a kind of like a healing machine. And I put my hands out, and these and I get comfortable and put my hands out, and this machine which is interacting with me, it's like a green sort of, like in Hal's Moving Castle, these kind of organic yet like advanced technology, and it's sort of a bit angular and a bit round at the same time, and it sort of comes down and projects all these rays onto my hands. And I have issues with my fingers because I clicked my fingers when I was a teenager, and even though in the scientific literature they say that's not actually bad for you, it is bad for you, and I felt it in my fingers. My fingers are not 100%. So I was thinking, okay, maybe they're doing some surgery with that, and I felt good about that. So yeah, and then after that being goes away, the sort of the Asian guys are like, they're like, look at that. What's, and I'm like, what is it? Is it my torch? They're like, no, down there. What is it? And I'm like, what is that? And it's like, oh, these cats at back, these little kittens, these shape-shifting kittens are surrounding me. They're kind of like, oh, just get out of there. Okay, I'm leaving this spot. And then I go back around the fire and lie down. And the fire's beautiful. It's windy. It's quite atmospheric. And I see these men. They're like hyper crystalline, clear. It's like they're made of earth. Like they're golden. They're made of earth. Wearing these wingsuits, and they're hovering above me. There's like 4 of them, and it's like crystalline detail. And they come down slowly. Come down. And this is the thing, you can tell like when they're obviously good and they obviously want to do some work with you. You can tell, like, you know, that sense of discernment, you know, you can see it. And they say, you know, pull up your shirt, pull up everything and expose your flesh. Actually, I had the sleeping bag over me still, but I didn't seem to be worried about that. So I pulled up my jumper like this, and I was holding my clothes like this, and also like this. And then it's hard to understand or comprehend what they did, but it was like it's like I'm a mold, and they're pouring liquid, molten, pure information, like archetypal symbologies and information that looked very familiar but extremely alien at the same time. And as this is happening, I'm going through this cycle of interpretation of the future, of what the meaning of that information is, and the impact that would have in my life, on my life story. So it was extremely vivid, crystalline, clear experience. And at the time, I can barely look at it. It's just too much. I can't even really it's not that I don't want to look. It's just I'm just surrendered. I'm just in it. I'm in this like visceral experience of having this surgery happen, and it doesn't feel like surgery. It feels more like they're just pouring this. It's almost like this plastic, but it's like this primal fluid, this primal kind of like tissue that is this sort of magic plasticine. And then something really astounding happens because it's done, and they say all the time they're communicating with me. It's very subtle telepathy, and they say, "Okay, it's done." And then I have the most queer perspective that, okay, well, this is a moment we need to capture. And it's as if, and I didn't see the beings involved, but it's like maybe half a dozen to a dozen like entities who are watching this process. They bring out their smartphones and they take a picture. And they're like, classic. Oh, I love it. They're all like, oh yes, I'm putting this on my social media. This is something quite unique. It was just, and at the time I'm like, oh damn, I'm a star in the social media world, in some other dimension. I'm seeing how they're seeing me, right? It was just this incredible archetypal experience. Yeah, then after that, things got a bit chaotic. And I think what happens when you do get that purity of information come in, you get that injection of clarity, or that consciousness is instilled into you. You kind of need to purge out what is preventing that from occurring or being there. And I was really going into a lot of sort of personal issues related to, and not even personal issues, like transpersonal issues of humanity and human beings in general, just not being attentive, not being aware. I can describe it, what it felt to me like, what I was being shown, what, the Holy Spirit is showing us, is that that the level of hyper awareness and consciousness that we need to have is almost militaristic in nature. The closest I could describe it is the sense of the Kalahari Bushmen and the way they're hunting, and the hyper attentiveness and awareness that they have of everything around them, that the wild people, that like exquisite wokeness of hypersensory awareness. But what I was being shown was that on a spiritual level, and I was being shown, okay, all right, human, you're how I would interpret our evolutionary stage is that we're somewhat of an intermediary stage of evolution. We're not the final product which can actually incarnate and process these frequencies. So part of me was like, can we even do that, And I was feeling into myself, I'm not prepared. Like, maybe I just need to have another go, Maybe I just need to, press the reset button and be more prepared next time, And I was feeling like underprepared, that maybe there was a lot of me that was feeling like, okay, am I really being attentive? Am I really taking life seriously enough? Am I really putting my all into this? Am I really having this almost militaristic attitude that they're showing me. That's the closest approximation I can have to it. It's a sense of that attitude of hyper attention, hyper awareness, hyper being onto it, and really keeping your eye on the ball. But what we're talking about is spiritual. A spiritual awareness, like a whole realm of sensitivity and beingness that seems to have not really occurred at this evolutionary stage. And I'm sort of seeing myself as like, okay, well, I'm at this evolutionary stage. It's hard. It's hard because how can we embody that? How can we bring that in? How can we call that spirit in? Are we prepared to deal with it and say as it does come in, as it does engage with us, I was feeling just a lot of issues and trouble, and my tendency was just like, just wanted to escape. Like, it's just, all this is too much trouble, it's madness.
I feel like that right now, I can feel it.
Yeah. And everything became quite apocalyptic and quite insane, and I felt everyone going into this screaming and shouting and purging all at the same time, while I'm going through this maelstrom of apocalyptic scenarios that's like this washing machine of chaos. And after a while it all subsides. It's like, I'm out of the wave, the tumbled wave, and just enjoying the finally it's like they let me go. Finally I can just chill out rather than have this hyper vigilant awareness and, like, listen to us. We want you to be a lot more aware. And finally, the afterglow was fantastic. Just lying in front of the fire, and the wind, everything is just beautiful. I feel really at peace, and finally it kind of come to at 5:30 a.m.
I remember hearing you thank Neil in your journey.
Thank God as well. And telling everyone to read the book.
Yeah.
Should we do a plug?
So that's it.
Do you need to insert that?